We strongly believe a real strong woman is built out of the inner strength of self confidence that fades her flaws and fuels her success. Well, welcome to the fourth episode of the movement called V2, hashtag V2, a platform that has been created for the professional women by the professional women with the goal to give the confidence to the women to be able to stand up, speak up, inspire, and of course, uplift the community of other working women around the globe. My friends, I'm your host Poonam Vijay and the founder of the movement hashtag V2, and of course, the founder of a global digital job seeker visibility campaign called hashtag Support Saturdays that you all know about. At hashtag V2, we are driven by a mission truly to support the women by bringing real ground issues up and out. Discuss with other women corporate leaders. Our today's topic is a very interesting one with an eminent panel of my fellow corporate women leaders. I'm very excited to actually mention and announce that we will be deliberating and be discussing about the issues related to returning women to workforce. Yes, study says that 50% of new mothers leave their jobs and only 27% return back. The biological career breaks that we have to take and its challenges uncovered at hashtag V2. For this panel, please join me to welcome another stellar lineup of women corporate leaders. I'm very honored to welcome Ms. Vaishali Shah. Vaishali is a corporate HR leader and director of human resources at Qualys. Then we have Ms. Rashmi Adukuri, a communication specialist with over 2 decades of experience as a corporate communications leader. And as an entrepreneur in India and APAC region, she currently is heading communications at VMware. We have Ms. Ruby Thapar with us. Yes, Ruby has had a rich and diverse career of over 25 years in academia, business, and the development sector. She is a multifunctional leader and a transition coach. And yes, last but not the least, my fellow marketer, Ms. Rachna Prasad. Rachna is a fellow marketer, a passionate award-winning professional with over 20 years of experience in leadership roles. She is currently the Chief Marketing Officer at Vinculum Solutions. Without any further ado, let's get inspired. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the episode 4 of hashtag V2. I'm really honored to have you here all for this panel discussion, and rather a discussion that is going to be very heart to heart, that will give out the knowledge and inspiring words, the words that are needed in the industry today for the women to propel ahead. Today's topic is very interesting one, and I'm so happy that all the women leaders from different sectors have decided to be a part of this panel today. I will straight come to Vaishali. Vaishali, you are a corporate HR leader, and I want to give out something very important that is being picked from the Genpact Center for Women Leadership report. It's by Ashoka University. It says that Indian workplace is skewed against, and I want to say the word again, against women. And while there are few entry points for them, the exit gates are many. Now, we are talking about the exit gates that are related to biological cycle of women. So we are here talking about things like pregnancy, childbirth, childcare, elderly care, lack of family support, and it at sometimes is also giving numbers out and inferences to unsupportive work environment. What is your view? I want to have your views on the panel today related to set the stage for this panel with respect to, do you believe there are less entry points even in the digitally transformed world today? Or do you think it is the opposite? Please.
Sure. Thank you, Poonam. So I want to start with one very important thing that ages and from the beginning of civilization, we've always had the skewed scheme of things running around. With obviously in the post-modernization world, we've got a lot of women come in, become the bread earners or the first earners in the family, but still we are not, or we have not reached a level where it is equity, where it is in equal proportions, right? And I would also mention that in India, very specific to corporate, we are dangling in a ratio of 20 to 25%. which is to a very good number, if you ask me. And there are those organizations who are really doing well to, reasonably run programs for diversity, inclusion, equity, and belongingness, which are able to go beyond 30% for the gender ratio. That means women in India are below 20 to 25% in any corporate sector. While we're dealing with this, like Poonam, you said, marriage, husband's relocation to another city for a job prospect,
Right.
right? Caring for elderly, caring for your child, because women are in the caregiving role since the beginning. That's how our personalities are there. We've been tasked upon to do that. And that brings us to a point where we all think that we have to leave or make our priority something else. So we've come to a stage where our exit points are a lot. And when I say exit points a lot comes from choices that we make and the support systems or environment which are available to us at whichever. And I'm not even going down different stratas of society. I would only stick to, where education is prevalent, everybody's given equal opportunity in that strata of society. We still have enough work to do. And I know of corporates, and being one who've drafted policy in my organizations or the assignments I've worked at, we've ran programs for returning women, we've ran programs for mentorship. When you come back from a maternity break, I belong to a high-tech industry. The skills or what is prevalent changes in 6 months. So that fast is the world and economy moving. And it is very relevant for us when somebody comes from a break to be able to bring them up to speed. So there are organizations which are doing it, but still there is a long way. The exits are a lot more, like you said, and entry points are a lot less.
Would you like to throw some light basis what really is happening in the tech industry, because you belong to that? Is there anything specific that you guys are doing to bring women back?
Oh, yeah. So I know there are some leaders and they've been doing fantastic work in terms of having programs run for returning women or anybody who's on break, right? I've myself ran programs where if you're on a career break and you want to join back, we will support you, right? Those programs include even reskilling. Sometimes you graduate or you take up your degree, you might have done it in a very different age with different knowledge. When you come back now, what is relevant? It is also a responsibility of the ecosystem to build that out.
Sure.
Right? I might have been a finance major, and right now I don't even know what the laws speak, right? Or the legislation of different countries. But if I have to be competitive, that will go in. So those are programs which a lot of corporates are doing. I can name a few. Just recently I was on, a leadership talk, right, where there were a lot of panelists who were talking about their own experiences, what they're doing for equity and inclusion, right? So just by saying we are diverse or we need women more in the organization does not help your case, because we're all diverse, even being women. But how are you bringing in that equality? Do my pay grades support that? Do I, so Johnson & Johnson, they run a wonderful program across the globe where even the profile, when it goes, a resume, right, for a position is masked. So inclusivity starts from there. The breaks are masked so that people don't focus on what is a career break that somebody's taken, but they focus on what skill set they're bringing on the table. So some very progressive organizations are doing. And at the end, if you do not have the diversity, the product that you're getting into the market is not going to be for the real users.
Absolutely.
It's going to be skewed.
Very well said. Very well said. Let's move to Rashmi. Rashmi, there are many national surveys done to qualify this, what I'm going to put it out right now, as an information. 27% of women in the Indian workforce join work. About 48% drop out within 4 months of returning from their maternity leave, and it's a documented fact. 50% drop out mid-career before the age of 30 for childcare or for marital reasons. Now, only 16%, and now that's a fact, right? 16% of senior leadership roles are held by women today in our country. If these exit gates remain open, achieving the global goal of 50-50, the ratio that we talk about of global equality, gender equality is going to be a far-fetched thing. It's going to be just a dream. It has been badgered by the COVID impact also. So now my question to you is this, that why is it so difficult for women to return back, you know? And what support do they really need in a meaningful way? Please.
Right. Yeah, those statistics that you called out are glaring, right? And very sadly so. There is also a report that I have read where World Bank put out this report, which said there were about 20 in India who dropped out, and about 70% of them decided never to come back. And this was between 2004 and 2012. So it is sad for a country that puts out that many STEM female graduates year after year. So what happens really is, I think between the 5-year and 8-year career mark, unfortunately, the biological clock ticks in, and we all know that Vaishali talked about it. Unfortunately for women, the biological clock and the other milestones that they need to tick off also happens at the time where they need to focus on their career. So these women are doing extremely well, but at the 5-year, 8-year mark, they need to step out and they have to either care for aging parents or raise a family. Now, every organization understands this, right? And this is something that has happened from time immemorial. Why are organizations only talking? What can they do beyond this, right? Now, it's almost become a trend to say, hey, we are supportive of returnee moms. We are very, very keen to have you back. But the moment they look at that resume, the one thing that screams is the break that they have taken. Right. So there are two things. One is that there are certain industries where you need to upskill. Right. The IT tech industry is one thing which is moving at a dynamic pace. But then there are other industries, for example, the HR department, or if you are a physician, the human body does not change. You just need, you need to study up or skill, a little bit, and then you're back to doing your job at your very best. The HR department normally talks to people who are, who are dealing with other people or skill sets, and, give them time. Why are organizations so close to having a profile of a woman, which, says that there has been a career break, or she has taken a break for whatever reason? I mean, it's her personal reason, right? So there are industries that should support it very, very openly. And I love that example that Vaishali talked about, the Johnson and Johnson one. That's the norm. I think that should become the norm. You do not ask them questions about your last pay. You do not ask them reasons for why you took that break. You are here. If your skill set matches with the requirement that you have, welcome them in. And unless you have this as an agenda, it's not, the statistics are not going to change.
Absolutely. I think I second to everything that you said. What is it that is holding us back? Now, let's talk about what is it that is holding. Look, the organizations, still we are on our way to become digitally transformed as a world, right? Though we say that your CV should be ATS compliant, your CV should be this, it is first checked by the softwares, agree. But ultimately it is reaching human hands. It is reaching the screens where humans are screening, right? Minus the example of Johnson & Johnson, what is it? I'm talking about the mindset. Let's just spend 1 minute on it. What is the mindset that is stopping us? What is the real issue, Rashmi, that you see here?
Yeah. So there are two things, and I want to talk about both the employer and the employee. The employer is looking at the break and he says, hey, this person or he or she who is behind taking those decisions probably thinks that this person cannot be productive from day one, as against a woman who has been in another role and is looking for another job, right? So that break is not something that they are looking at very kindly. So that's the employer. Now the employee someone who has been out of the workforce for a while, and I can quote my example very close to home. My sister, has 3 children. She took a 10-year break. She's worked in the US for several years. She's worked in India for several years, and some of the top companies across the world. And I had to really push her. The little ones are about 4 years now, and they are manageable. I had to push her, but the confidence that she had to come back, the confidence that she had to, prioritize putting her resume, the confidence that she needed to say, I'm a returning mom. Not everyone has that, right? And she's just, she has an aggressive sister in me. I pushed her, but not every woman is. We are all soft by nature, and that works. I mean, most organizations need someone like us. Otherwise, the world will be made of only macho men, and that's not good for anyone. But so you want, I think as women, we stop ourselves, because the confidence that we bring to the table is something that needs to be reiterated again and again. And end of the day, I think the world and the society looks at working women with a different lens compared to women who have taken a break. And that's got to stop as well. So both of those things are important. Poonam.
Very, very pertinent points. And this really makes me come and jump to Ruby, who is a transition coach sitting with us. Ruby, I want to quote here a BBC report. It says, mothers traditionally bring up children in India. Now, we are also looking at India that is more, mushrooming with the tier 2, tier 3, the metros with nuclear families. But still, this is a mindset. We are talking about nuclear families, but this is a mindset. Few employers provide flexible working hours or creche facilities, so many working moms end up quitting their jobs after having children. Right? Now, let's look at the other side of it. Even women who have family support or can afford to pay for childcare have a lot of guilt. Now, I want you to tackle this point from a coach's perspective. This is because of the social conditioning of women that their responsibility, or the first responsibility, is to bring up children. Now, you must be talking to a lot of women who are going through transition, who are, in the midst of looking at their life and career ahead. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to throw some light on the guilt trip of women. I want you to inspire everyone who's watching this show today that you don't need to be in this guilt. You need to take care of yourself. Please.
I think you're right. I mean, and everybody, including Vaishali and Rashmi, to some extent, alluded to it, that it's social conditioning, it's how we are brought up. And, we have a choice. We're scared to exercise that choice.
True.
We all have a choice at the end of the day, and this is the truth. So even if you choose to stay at home, there's nothing wrong about it, as long as you choose it. Absolutely. You say that I believe that this is my priority, and I relish in it, I thrive in it, I grow in it. I think if I have to bifurcate this, and if I say we play multiple roles in a day, you are a mother, correct, you're a manager, you're a leader, you're a subordinate, you're a peer, you're a daughter, you're a sister, we are all playing multiple roles. And if we look at each role as a role and say in every role I have a goal. So when I'm a mother, for 1 hour, I'm a mother, and I'm doing that role 500%. And then when I'm a professional, I'm a professional. We don't really look at it. We make mother our identity, and I don't think it's true. I don't think even the best of moms are 100% or 24/7 only moms. You have so many dimensions to our personality, and I think we need to learn to celebrate that. That is always something that I personally do, and I push everybody to do, including my 74-year-old mother, telling her that you have so many aspects to you. Why should you not nurture them? And yes, the ecosystem is not friendly, but who's going to do that? I mean, we will do it. And I've always maintained that women are more empowered at work than at home, because the organizational policies support the transition, support the growth, support the diversity and inclusion, support equality. But when you go back home, from there the battle or the baton is in your hands. And can you take those learnings from work? So let's do a reverse process of conditioning. what you get at work, can you take it back home and integrate it? Let me give you an example. When I was heading CSR, I had the good fortune of working in many of the villages of India and the tribal belts of India. And the other statement that I make is women in the rural belts are much more wiser and empowered than the middle class women. I think the middle class women just get sandwiched between the expectations and the mask and the social status that we have created. And I was working with this woman, and she was making these beautiful jute bags. And I asked her that, where do you get these designs from? And she said, Pinterest. You believe me, my jaw dropped and I could have fallen off my chair. And then she said, I will tell you my story. So she was interested in making, and this NGO got her the loan and the training and everything. But her husband would not let her step out of home. And the jute had to be procured from Calcutta, and she's working in one of the villages in Maharashtra. She set up her enterprise at home. We were talking about startups earlier. She set up her enterprise at home. Her husband said, you're not traveling to Calcutta to get the jute. So she took the help of the NGO and created a value chain where the jute was delivered. Then she started keeping sales, and look at the wisdom. She used to get her husband to sit and manage the money while she managed the sale. And today, after 10 years, she travels to Calcutta to get her stuff and to sell it online. And it is as good as what you and I would like to carry. So I'm saying there are possibilities. It is going to be painful. You're suffering either way. So you might as well choose what you want to suffer. And it's much more empowering that way.
Rupi, this brings me to a very small thought, quick small thought. Are you trying to say that women need a proof of concept at all times in their life?
I think we've trained ourselves. We started to believe everything that was doled out to us. But now we have so much exposure. You can choose how you want to define the culture of your family. Yes, it is going to take effort. It takes effort even at the workplace. Yes. The stakes are equally high, whether it is at the workplace or at home. Sure. But we just succumb at home. And I come from I'm the first woman to step out to work in my family and to say, okay, wow, marriages will happen when it will happen. And if I feel that I need to get married, I would. And was it an easy process? No, but I enjoyed what I was doing. I was happy. I think my parents eventually looked at me and said, she is happy.
Correct.
With the choices that she's made. What
I understand from what you're trying to say is that returning mother issue that we are talking about today, the challenges around this could also be, we don't have a research available, but we can quickly come to a sort of conclusion that 50% the responsibility lies with you also.
100%.
50% is what the environment has to support, the organizations have to support, the policies have to support, that needs to be pushed further is what you're trying to say. And 50% is whether you are mentally in a growth mindset position to look back and ahead simultaneously.
Yeah, and I think you need to, most working women or returning mothers need to differentiate between, are they looking for a job to put the bread on the table and enhance quality of life, or are they looking for a career? Because a job is unilateral, whereas a career will be a confluence of many things, including the break you took in. Right. What did you do with that break? When you brought up your kids, you have a wealth of experience of multitasking, which no organization can teach you. Absolutely. But they can capitalize on it. But are you looking at it as an opportunity?
True.
I think the second, thing that I would get people to do is plan. When you are in that break, can you plan for a comeback? How will you create the ecosystem? How will you negotiate with your in-laws? How will you negotiate with your own guilt? Are you going to, it's like a party that you're having and not wanting, like how Rashmi was saying, you need support system, go get it. You need a coach, go get it. There are today a lot of women who are willing to help and listen out. So find your ecosystem, learn from others how they have navigated.
Wonderful. And hashtag #V2 is also, we all are sitting here to actually motivate a lot of women who are watching us, right?
Yeah, and it's not just returning mothers. I think looking after parents, if you are the only child and you have decided to enhance your career and go abroad, there are so many more elements to coming back, which can be defined in many different ways. Coming back after COVID.
Rupi, let's go to Rachna right now. Rachna, I want now we have got a very good flavor of what the HR, the coach, and what Rashmi just put it on the table. I think they were very interesting points made. Rachna, you are a marketing leader, digital marketing leader, with 20 years of experience. Now, there is a tendency, and I want you to vouch for it, either say yes or no first. There is a tendency to give greater importance to a man's job than a woman's job in India. Would you give any rating to it?
Yes,
Before
it is.
I move on. Yes, it is.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It has been the legacy that
has
a man's
been.
job has always got priority. But what I see today is that things are changing a little bit.
Sure.
Okay.
So,
And the reason I say this, sorry.
With that perspective, let me thread into the question. In another labor force report, a study, women were divided into 3 cohorts. Currently pregnant, women who have dropped out, and women who return to work but are facing challenges because of a different environment.
Yeah.
Now, the study found challenges that were common to all cohorts and manifested at 4 levels. And I want to put it out. The levels were individual. This is what Ruby said. If you want to do it, go and negotiate your life. The individual, the family. That is also Ruby said that you got to go out and talk to your family and say that I am. Then there are social norms that I think Rashmi harped upon, the social norm.
Yeah.
And the 4th quadrant or the cohort was around the workplace. Now, my question to you is, Rachna, could you focus on workplace challenges and elaborate for us what really women at workplace can do to help other women?
I think based on my personal experience,
Sure.
the first thing that a woman can do is become a sponsor for another woman. Okay.
Absolutely.
I think sponsorship is something which can really, really lift the cause. And I have seen it across my career and I believe in it. I have got n number of examples where, in fact, I'm also accused sometimes that I give preference to women who are coming back after their childbirth. Okay.
Excellent.
And the reason for that is very simple. I have in 10% of the cases, whenever I have betted on a woman who's coming back after a childbirth, I find that her ability to contribute to the work with the focus and responsibility is very, very high.
Well said.
Okay. And I completely buy that logic, and it's also based on my own personal experience, because when I was coming back to work, and this was many years before when people were not so aware, women were not so aware, I had not read the Lean In, I wish I had read it. So, at that point in time, I used to just put my 8 hours, 9 hours completely on work because I knew that I have to switch off once I go back.
Correct.
Right? Correct. And that's exactly the pattern I've seen with every returning woman. They have to prove themselves. As I think Ruby said, that, it's a kind of a release for them. It gives them an identity.
Correct.
And they take it very seriously. It's not just about getting the bread on the table. It's about, I'm building a career. I'm not just taking care of kid and family and doing, whatever. I am using my education. All these things play psychologically on you.
Absolutely.
And I will also tell you an example. I have a super achiever of a friend who decided to get married late, etc., etc. And then at the peak of her career, she decided to move with her husband to another country. Okay. And she had a baby late, of course. And then she did not come back. She could not come back to work. The limitations were largely on account of the fact that the country did not have enough opportunities. And
Sure.
with her background, it was just unfortunate. It is sad that, till today, her family keeps telling her that, oh, you didn't do anything. Let's face it, she managed to live a full-fledged corporate life till the age of 40.
Wow.
It's only now that they have gone back. Now, please understand, that's the ecosystem that we have moved to.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
It's the ecosystem.
There was a time when you had a traditional role, you were supposed to take care of this. Now the roles have changed. You have to handle everything. And when it comes to handling everything, you have to give opportunity to women.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's the woman who will understand the woman first. And again, on the same track, I would say that when COVID hit, in my team there are a whole lot of women, and when COVID hit, I realized that there were women who were hugely challenged because they had to take care of home.
Yes.
They were no maids.
Yes.
And maybe the husbands are not as supportive because they have traditionally not been brought up to be able to take up a lot of responsibility within the house, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that as a woman leader, it's your job to essentially create that level of confidence as well as ease for her to perform, right? And it's only a woman who can understand it as well. If there is
Well said.
setting the right expectations, etc., etc. It's finally, let me be very honest with you, in my entire career, I do know that the corporate world is very well designed for to be a boys club, right? You go for sutta
We
breaks, you do
agree.
all those kind of things, etc.,
Yes.
etc. A woman will have her own priorities. She'll finish her work and
way.
needs to go back,
Yes, to find
right?
her way.
Yeah. So that piece, and hence, for a woman, it's important to be a sponsor to other women. Only then you were able to lift this. That heavy lifting is actually in the hands of the, I would say, the empowered women within the organization, so that the next generation of women can be lifted.
Can be lifted. Very well said. This is a very strong. It's I think the strongest point that we have made on this panel, because the women who are sitting in the so-called power positions, are you using your power for the right reasons? Are you using your power where you are the decision maker? And I'm also talking about, Vaishali, you're smiling because you are a powerful woman sitting as an HR head, right? It is in your hands, to put such policies that can go strongly in the favor, because come on, we know the numbers. We know that returning women are less. I just gave out the number. I don't want to go back on it. We know there are challenges. I want you to, Rachna, quickly sum up what you said in terms of, it's a great point made about powerful women sitting in the power position where they can make decisions to sponsor other women, right? And the second part of it is, now we are also facing, and since last 14 months, we have seen what is happening in the world around. Now you have an entire a breed, a segment, a sect, a required, I would say, pool of women who were not in the actionable career till now, but are now going to be pushed to be looking at winning the bread for their families because of COVID. Now, I want this panel to throw some light from the perspective of returning women, right? And also from the perspective of COVID hit women who have lost their husbands, the breadwinners, the only breadwinners in the family. Is there anything through this panel we can communicate to them? Rachna.
Yes, of course. So I think there are a lot of these powerful women, and I can actually quote Virginia Sharma. She's actually a vice president for brand solutions in JioSaavn. A highly accomplished woman. She's essentially doing a thesis on gender equality and stuff like that in corporate life. She is, I just read a post recently that she is helping people who, she doesn't call them COVID widows, she calls them COVID singles, right? And she's helping these women to essentially take up a job, skill them, and take up a job. Likewise, there are other organizations as well which are doing that. But clearly, one of the things that I would actually say, and this is again based on my personal experience, the first starting point, you will get support. In today's world, you will get support. Right. We're so well networked, we will get support, right? The most important thing is, don't allow anyone to tell you that you cannot do this.
Wonderful.
That's the starting point. Don't let anyone say, oh, you are not trained for this. Oh, you cannot get this kind of job. You can do everything.
The word training itself means that you can be trained.
Yes,
you're never trained.
Absolutely.
You're never trained. You go and train yourself. So there cannot be any stage in life where you can't be trained.
Yes.
Each time you're alive, the training, the learning goes on, right?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So no matter what, you just feel that I need to get back on the job. I need to get bread on the table. You will find a job.
Right. Rashmi, you want to add on to this?
Yeah, I guess it's amazing to hear what Rachna and the other folks are saying. You really need to be your own custodian, and you really need to take matters in your hand, right? I mean, there are supportive people, maybe supportive husbands, but you've got to make up your mind. You are either a breadwinner or you are a career woman, and they are two different things. One other thing that we might, we don't talk about enough is look at women in the rural, part of India, or look at those women who come to work for us at home, right? They have little kids and they leave them because they don't have a choice. They don't have such panels. They don't have such panels to discuss, right? right? And most often than not, they don't have support. So they do what they need to do, and they become hardened in the process, right? And those kids also grow up. Hopefully, they grow up well. They grow up, into well-rounded of personalities. But then I'm saying all of these things. The women who are debating and wondering if they should not, they are doing that because they have the luxury of choice. Right?
Absolutely.
And we should look at those women who don't. Rachna was also talking about this whole help to be given to the COVID single women. COVIDwidows.in is another website that, any of your viewers can log in and, read about it. Definitely make the effort to go there and apply for roles. Finally, I think there are a lot of organizations that are offering upskilling and reskilling programs. So to all the women out there who want to come back, I would say that there's never been a better time to come back to work. Organizations are going out there, because of the policies. They are putting out those policies. They are lending you a hand, and don't let any of these barriers come in the way. Just make up your mind and go for it. It might take 6 months, it might take a year, but once you have,
it will happen.
Yes, things will happen. And once you're on track, it's hard for you to fall off that track.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think this was just a very, very encouraging. I'm feeling motivated. Whatever you all said, I'm very sure these wise words will go out to the right people who needed to hear from us. The entire reason for setting up a panel like this, bringing women leaders, is because first aim is to normalize the pain. That yes, it is going to be difficult. Ruby, you just said it is going to be tough, but are you ready for it? Rashmi, you just said a very important point here, that it is your choice. Absolutely. If you are in luxuries, it is your choice. And Rachna, the point that you made, I want to keep it very, very strongly, and I want to reiterate on it, is sponsor other women. If we are decision makers, if we are in power positions in the organizations, it becomes our responsibility. Thank you so much, everyone. I enjoyed talking to you all. It is always wonderful to bring women leaders on this panel and inspire other women leaders. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.